What if the real thing breaking you is not what left, not what delayed, not what changed, but your refusal to loosen your grip on what was never yours to control in the first place? So many people pray for peace while feeding panic, ask for guidance while worshiping urgency, beg for relief while clutching the very weight that is crushing them. Buddha was unsparing about this. Suffering grows where the mind clings, because the moment it tries to possess what is unstable, it begins to tremble, beg, and build a prison inside the chest. The hidden cost is brutal but quiet: a tired spirit, an overheated mind, a heart that never softens, a life that feels blocked at every turn. Stay with this to the end, because what you have been calling delay may simply be life trying to breathe somewhere beyond the reach of your fear. Type in the comments, "I release and let life flow." That sentence is not decoration, it is a decision. It is the moment you stop treating tension like proof of love, obsession like proof of commitment, and exhaustion like proof of worth. It is the moment you stop confusing a clenched jaw with strength and a frantic mind with wisdom. It is the moment you begin to understand that release is not the collapse of your life, but the end of your private war against reality. You are not only hurting because something painful happened to you, you are also hurting because part of you keeps demanding that life rewind, obey, explain itself, and arrive in a form that makes your fear feel safe. The mind loves the fantasy that more thinking, more checking, more forcing, more insistence will finally deliver relief. Yet all it produces is more pressure, more noise, more inner compression. Buddha taught that attachment is not simply liking something deeply. Attachment is the frightened insistence that says this must unfold my way, in my timing, with my chosen person, under my preferred conditions, or I will fall apart. That is where the suffocation begins, because from that moment on you are no longer living your life. You are wrestling it. You lose sleep because you think vigilance can secure tomorrow. You cannot rest because some part of you believes that if you loosen your grip for 1 second, everything will collapse into ruin. You refuse to release because your mind has made a dangerous equation. Letting go equals losing, surrender equals failure, softness equals defeat. But what is destroying you is often not the thing that may leave. It is the constant internal strangling, the closed fist of the mind, the obsessive need to control even what cannot be seen. The more you demand that life kneel before your fear, the more trapped and powerless you feel. A desperate mind loses its eyesight long before it loses its object. It pushes when stillness would reveal more, chases what is already moving away, interprets uncertainty as catastrophe, and turns love into possession, faith into pressure, desire into a sentence. Then the pain arrives in layers, not only the pain of what did not happen, but the pain of feeling betrayed by existence itself, as if the whole universe has singled you out for heaviness. You start asking why everything feels dense, why nothing arrives gently, why you give so much and still feel like the world is jammed shut in front of you. Yet sometimes the world is not sealed at all. Sometimes you are squeezing reality so hard inside yourself that it cannot move. Releasing is not walking away from life. Releasing is walking away from the war you created with life. That difference changes everything, because Buddha never preached numb passivity or vacant detachment. He taught clear seeing, lucid presence, and freedom from inner slavery. When he warned about craving and attachment, he was not saying that human beings must become empty statues without preference or devotion. He was revealing that the moment desire becomes captivity, the heart becomes a battlefield, and every breath starts to taste like struggle. There is a vast difference between intention and clutching. Intention plants, waters, waits, adjusts, and remains awake. Clinging digs up the seed every hour to see whether it has sprouted yet. Intention loves without choking, builds without self-destruction, moves with steadiness, and leaves room for timing, mystery, and change. Clinging suffocates, pressures, bargains, manipulates, and panics at every pause. Maybe what you have been calling strength is only exhaustion dressed up as discipline. Maybe what you have been calling dedication is the fear of uncertainty wearing the costume of effort. There comes a point when persistence stops being courage and becomes fear in armor. There comes a point when overthinking stops being care and becomes a private form of torture. There comes a point when holding on stops being love and becomes captivity for both you and the thing you are trying to keep. Your body knows when you have crossed that line, even if your pride refuses to admit it. The shoulders tighten, the face hardens, the stomach burns, the chest narrows, and your entire presence begins to carry the fatigue of an invisible war. Life feels that pressure too, and nothing healthy grows well inside constant emotional smoke. Buddha also pointed relentlessly to impermanence, a truth simple enough to understand and difficult enough to transform a life. Everything shifts, passes, unfolds, ripens, fades, dissolves, and becomes something else. No season stands still. No relationship freezes in one form forever. No body, mood, era, or achievement remains unchanged. The most tormented part of the mind is the part that wants to turn the river into stone, to preserve the pleasant moment forever and rush the painful one out of existence on command. But life behaves more like water than rock, and water cannot be possessed by force. Squeeze it harder, and it disappears faster through your fingers. That is true for love, money, reputation, healing, direction, and even peace itself. Some people want serenity so badly that they become anxious in the search for calm, turning rest into another performance, another demand, another test. They are afraid of failing. Buddha's insight cuts cleanly here. Suffering expands when the mind tries to imprison what is passing and reject with hostility what it does not want to feel. So the misery is not only in the pain itself, but in the argument with the pain, not only in the waiting, but in the revolt against waiting, not only in the empty space, but in the refusal to walk through it. Until you understand that, you will keep calling it bad luck, when much of it is simply the consequence of living in a permanent grip. Picture someone trying to sleep while hugging a pile of stones. There are stones on the chest, stones in the arms, stones pressed against the spine, and still the person says, "I cannot rest, but do not ask me to put them down, because these stones matter to me." That is how many people carry control, obsession, the need for reassurance, the need to be chosen, the need to know now, the need to win now, the need to understand everything before taking one honest breath. Then they wonder why the soul feels starved of rest. It is because no one can recover while trying to carry the impossible. Buddha kept returning to the training of the mind because an untrained mind manufactures suffering the way a furnace creates heat. Training the mind does not mean becoming cold, distant, or emotionally dead. It means learning that not every fearful impulse deserves obedience. Not every thought deserves a throne. Not every emotion deserves to become your God. It means looking at anxiety and saying, "I see you, but you do not get the steering wheel." That is what release truly is. Not inaction, but action without inner chains. Almost no one understands the deepest part of this. When you stop clinging, you are not performing a spiritual trick to force the universe to reward you. You are stepping out of the inner condition that distorts your perception, weakens your judgment, and drains your life force. When the mind stops shaking so violently, it begins to notice openings it used to miss. And when the heart stops pleading from hunger, it begins to relate more cleanly, choose more wisely, and move with more dignity. Life seeming to work in your favor often means only this: you are no longer working so aggressively against yourself. That shift is enormous. While you are attached in a frantic way, you ruin timing, misread people, exhaust relationships, sabotage your own choices, and confuse intensity with truth. When you release, your action becomes cleaner, your seeing becomes sharper, and your step becomes steadier. You start noticing what genuinely belongs in your life and what you were trying to rip out of reality by force, fear, or panic. You begin to see that not every closed door was rejection, not every delay was punishment, and not every loss was failure. Some were protection, preparation, and liberation in disguise. The deeper law is not bleed harder, push harder, grip harder. The deeper law is this: stop fighting what your anxiety cannot command and return to meeting life as it is rather than attacking it for not matching the shape of your wound. Buddha called people toward a middle way, and in plain language that means stepping out of the extremes that keep breaking you. Neither careless withdrawal nor obsessive control will free you. Freedom is found in the rare strength of staying present without fever, caring without possession, desiring without enslavement, and trusting without fantasy. Many people think this is impossible because they were taught that love must be tense to be real, achievement must be exhausting to count, and importance must hurt in order to mean something. But that is not wisdom, that is conditioning, a bruised mind trying to survive by tightening around everything it touches. Living that way is expensive in the deepest sense. It costs inner silence, simple joy, spontaneous gratitude, and the ability to inhabit the only place where life ever actually happens, this moment. To lose the present while trying to dominate the future is one of the most common tragedies of the human mind. Maybe you are here because you are tired of asking and still feeling empty. Maybe you are tired of waiting for a reply that never comes, tired of trying to understand why something will not move, tired of carrying a tension that has become so familiar it now feels like part of your skin. This is where Buddha's teaching lands like a blade of clarity. Peace is not found by pinning life to the ground. It is found the moment you stop mistaking the most desperate voice in your head for your true self. That voice says, if you release, everything will vanish. But look honestly at your life and ask how many times you clutched with all your strength and still lost anyway. How many times did you plan, insist, monitor, worry, and suffer only to watch the outcome ignore your choreography? Maybe what you called control was never power at all. Maybe it was fear dressed as strategy, panic disguised as responsibility, insecurity dressed in the language of discipline. If that is true, then continuing this way is not protection. It is imprisonment. The attached mind does not really live. It monitors, doubts, compares, calculates, begs, resents, and ends each day emptied of presence. Now imagine another way of standing inside your own life. Imagine waking up without strangling the future before breakfast, doing what needs to be done without becoming a servant to the result, facing uncertainty without handing it the authority to shatter you. Imagine loving without crawling, waiting without tormenting yourself, losing without becoming rubble, receiving without living in terror of the next loss. That is inner freedom. That is actual strength. That is the beginning of a life in which your peace is no longer handed over to everything that changes. Release feels terrifying because the ego reads it as death. The ego wants control, status, certainty, possession, image, and the endless reassurance of being the one who gets to decide how reality must behave. It says, I must have, I must win, I must secure, I must keep. Buddha exposed this grasping self not to erase your humanity, but to reveal how much suffering is born when every desire, fear, and impulse is treated as your identity. You are not every panic about tomorrow, not every surge of control, not every frightened command issued by the mind. You are also the awareness capable of seeing all of that arise without kneeling before it. That moment matters more than people realize. The second you notice the urge to chase, beg, tighten, force, or collapse, and choose not to obey it automatically, something radical begins. It may look small from the outside, but inside it is a revolution. That is the point where you stop feeding the machinery of suffering, where you withhold wood from the fire, where a new kind of freedom quietly enters the room. Many people never taste that freedom because they have spent their whole lives assuming that feeling an impulse and serving it are the same thing. They are not the same thing. You can feel the ache and still not surrender to desperation. You can feel the uncertainty and still remain whole. You can feel the absence of an answer and still refuse to abandon yourself. This is why genuine release is not a decorative slogan to repeat when life is easy. It is disciplined inner work. It is the choice not to humiliate yourself when a message does not come, not to turn delay into panic, not to create 1,000 imaginary disasters when life refuses to follow your script. The mind will protest when you begin to live this way. It will call you weak, passive, foolish, late, careless, and tell you that doing something destructive is better than standing still with clarity.